2024 Bitcoin year in review. I'm going to talk to you about that and a couple details. We're going to not just go over price, we're going to go over what happened in the year 2024 from a Bitcoin perspective. I'll go through the news a little bit and it kind of maybe give you some perspective as to where we are now and where we will be as we go forward. Before I get into that, I want to thank the Bitbox O2 hardware wallet. Go to bitbox.swiss/Bitcoin Made Simple. Use promo code Bitcoin Made Simple to get 5% off your order. And also shout out to Barefoot Mining. Barefoot Mining, if you're looking to get into mining as an investor or if you're an energy provider, please contact them. Go to www.barefootmining.com. So let's get into it. Bitcoin price 2024. Price and news. I'm just doing this to kind of give us both a little bit of a perspective of what happened this year as Bitcoin has plunged. Oh my God, it's plunged down to $91,000. So if you look back, I'm going to start with the price and then just literally I'm Googling and looking at the news of that month. So the price started at 42,000. Ended at 42,000, went as high as 48 and as low as 38. This is for the month of January 2024. If you go into Google search, it's interesting because it feels like it was, sometimes it feels like it wasn't too long ago. Sometimes it feels like it was ages ago. But all the news from then is about Bitcoin ETFs. New York Times, regulators approve new type of Bitcoin fund and boon for crypto industry. I hate that word, crypto. So yeah, that, it's, I think a lot, if I think back, I think a lot of us were thinking, not me, but others were thinking, oh, this is going to be the thing that really propels an ETF is going to propel Bitcoin. And maybe it did, but it wasn't a immediate explosion like I think most people expected. January, there was not much price action movement and Bitcoin didn't really do anything with the news of the ETF. Now, February, it got a little interesting. February opened at 42,000 but closed at 61,000. Did reach a high of 63,900. So February is whenever it felt like we were back in business per se. Ironically, there's not a ton of Bitcoin news other than, there's a CNN headline that says Bitcoin euphoria is back as investors prepare for the quadrennial halving. So I guess we were leading up to the halving. I guess people were thinking about that, but you can only keep this beach ball underwater for so long. Now, March is when we got back to all-time high territory. March is whenever we got, March had a high of 73,000, started at 61, high of 73, closed at 71, which I really think it's funny when they say, especially on the daily, I don't look at pricing like this, but they'll be like, Bitcoin closed today at blah, blah, blah price, like as if it's like the stock market and like trading closes, boom, at 4 o'clock or whatever. It's hilarious. So 71,000. Look at the news. State legislation alert. Alarm grows over crypto mining's energy consumption. Blah, blah, blah. New York Times, is crypto back? Ugh, God, I hate that crypto word. What to know about Bitcoin's surge. And here's my favorite. Judge rules computer scientist not Bitcoin inventor. That is from the BBC. And then we have the AP News saying Bitcoin briefly hits an all-time high less than 2 years after FTX scandal clobbered crypto. God, they love the word crypto. So yeah, that is, really, honestly, getting back to the all-time high, and there's not much euphoria was interesting, especially leading into, the halving or the halvening. Now, April was interesting. April, we expected, let's see, I don't even remember. When was the Bitcoin halving? Feels like it was a decade ago. It was on April 19th. Okay. Does feel like it was a decade ago. So in April, the started at 71,000, but closed at 60,000. The month of the halving, there was a $10,000 drop down. And that's what all the news is Bitcoin's latest halving has arrived. Here's what you need to know. As if the AP knows anything about it. So yeah, my favorite headline, Investopedia, why does Bitcoin have value? All right. So let's plug ahead, and we're looking at May now. In May, started at 60, ended at 67. Let's see what May had to do news-wise. May news-wise was, I mean, really, like the Wisconsin pension fund now includes Bitcoin. Uh, ugh, there's a the passion of Bitcoin Jesus. That's terrible, both from religious and Bitcoin perspectives. A lot more FUD. So I'm surprised. And by the way, I'm doing this live, not live to it's recorded, but I'm doing these reactions live to what the news is because I thought it'd be interesting. I don't know, it years go by and decades in Bitcoin. So, you know, I kind of honestly forgot that the ETF happened this year. So, and also it felt like when I saw the ETF news, I was like, oh, that didn't happen until like May, but no, it happened in January. All right. So nothing much going on in May. Then in June, opened at 67 and went down to 62. So just chopping around in the 60s. And let's look at the price of Bitcoin. And then we're going to look at all right, Bitcoin's bubbly behaviors. Those that resemble other financial bubbles. I mean, there's really why accountants are now learning about Bitcoin. Yeah, there's not really a whole lot. Australia launched a Bitcoin ETF. This is a good one. Where do thebanker.com, where do Bitcoin miners live anyway? Wherever they want. So let's go to July. July price starts at 62, closes at 64. So more chopping. God, I forgot how much we just kind of floated. We did really float there for a while. Let's see. Okay. So I forgot. July was the Bitcoin conference, and the AP News, July 27th. Trump calls for the U.S. to be crypto capital of the planet. An appeal to Nashville Bitcoin conference. Again, I'd like to hear him say the word Bitcoin instead of crypto because crypto is all shitco. But, and I also remember him saying he wants all the Bitcoin to be mined here in the U.S., but that's not possible. Anyways, that was didn't do a lot. People were like, oh, it's going to send Bitcoin to the moon, blah, 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 blah. And then it did the opposite. And I think people were probably anticipating what's going to happen election wise. So, August, opened at 64, closed at 58. So people were not, were a little probably on the panic side of, are we going back down? Let's look at the news cycle in August. Next month, any news? What exactly is a Bitcoin strategic reserve? That starts hitting everywhere. So this is what Trump announced, and this is when the news cycle started running with it. And I think if I remember correctly, I don't see any news about it. But the Harris campaign, I think, was talking about it too, trying to do it in a glowing fashion. Um, but I don't see anything there. Now here we go. Let's get into September, where we're, getting into the 60 days leading up to the election. September opened at 58, closed at 63, did get to a high of 66. Um, I mean, really more like not a whole lot of news. Michael Saylor on September 9th did predict Bitcoin could hit 13 million by 2045. Um, this is not financial advice. It may not. It may take longer than that. At some point in the future, it probably will be worth $13 million. We just don't know when. So don't try to time things, people. So let's move ahead to October. October is probably going to be a little more interesting. But again, everything was all about the election. That's all people really cared about at the moment. At that time, it opened at 63 and closed at 70. So it's pushing its way back up. Towards the all-time high. Financial market, I mean, yeah, not a whole lot. Isn't it amazing? Like, oh, here we go. Has Bitcoin's elusive creator finally been unmasked? The New Yorker. That's right. There was a documentary that came out claiming to narrow down who Bitcoin's creator was. Spoiler alert, it wasn't that person. Also, another spoiler alert, you should get a BitBox02 hardware wallet. So let's look ahead. This is where things get interesting. November, the price of Bitcoin opens at 70,000. A high of 99,000, closed at 96. If you guys remember, and I think this is how it generally went down, is that Bitcoin was like, you could have predicted this stuff. I don't play the price, but if you think back on it, because I'm looking at the news now, and it's like Trump's win ignites a crypto frenzy that sends Bitcoin to a record high. Bitcoin surges to record high near 95,000. Trump trade returns for second week as Bitcoin Tesla stock surge. You should have expected that Bitcoin was going to get near that all-time high. And just it looked like it was hovering there. Open November at 70, and if Kamala wins, it goes down. If Trump wins, it goes up, and there it is. It went up. It went for its run. It didn't hit 100,000 that month though. This month is not over, but let's go ahead and look at December 1st to today. Bitcoin hits 100,000 for the first time. Something that was long overdue. Right now, the price of Bitcoin today is at like $92,000. But the month opened at 96. We had a high of 108,000. And I think what I wanted to do this exercise for is really just to help you guys frame where to keep your mind. Because, let's just say you looked at the price of Bitcoin today and saw it go down to 91 and you're like, oh my God. It wasn't that long ago that 91 was like, you've got to be kidding me. In fact, it didn't hit $91,000 until November, which was last month. A year ago, Bitcoin was at $42,000. That was 1 year ago. Bitcoin was at $42,000. So have some perspective. Don't trade. Don't buy anything else, and don't buy, this is not financial advice, but don't buy with money that you cannot afford to put into anything like this. Some will say you can't afford to not put everything into Bitcoin, but you also need to live. And so, that's why I get really, really cringy whenever I see all the like MicroStrategy bros. It's like, dude, come on. Like, people don't have money. Like, generally speaking, the average person probably has like $15,000 in Bitcoin, in debt. So they don't have money to just like toss around into, and like, oh, you can talk big games and all this stuff. And congratulations if you are wealthy, but flaunting it on the internet is not really something you should be doing. So, point being is take your time, enjoy life, and keep working away and stacking. And then when you pick your head up, maybe Bitcoin will have doubled in price in a year and it won't even have felt like it for you. I'll talk to you later, but get a BitBox O2 hardware wallet, and I'll talk to you guys next week.